Meet Me in London. Book by Georgia Toffolo. Chapter 9. He was kissing her head and holding her hand, and it was so lovely. She closed her eyes and let herself sink into the feeling of being cared for and wanted, of being beautiful in his eyes. She couldn't remember a time when anyone had treated her with such unguarded affection. Not even Peter. Their relationship, now she looked back, developed from fun and casual to her trying hard to please him and him making more demands. There hadn't been a mutual respect there, not like this. This sharing of dreams and ideas. She let herself believe, just for a moment, that this was real, that she was Oliver's real girlfriend, a whole one who didn't have scars and damage and baggage, and who could promise him the future he'd want. He squeezed her hand, and she felt the message resonate through her. They could do this. They could fool everyone into thinking they were a couple. But she had a bad feeling she wouldn't need to do much in the way of play acting, because the affection she was starting to feel for him was real. Not just that he was a good guy, sure, but he was also a next-level sexy one. As she felt his palm in hers, his mouth on her forehead, skin against skin, desire rushed through her. Despite the trajectory they were on, meeting his parents and play acting, she wanted to kiss him. Now. Wanted to explore his body, wanted to know how he tasted, wanted to know what it would take to snap this thinly veiled self-control. The way her body ached for his touch, she didn't think it would take an awful lot. When she pulled away and saw his smiling face, she wondered if he was thinking that too. And if he was, she had to end it right now because neither of them could have any dreams of what-ifs and possibilities here. She wasn't a good bet, and definitely not Russell wife material, and she couldn't let him think she was. She needed to either finish it or make sure they never overstepped the line, stopping them from turning from friends into something more. Oliver. We've got to get going. We can talk more in the car. He gave her a wink and tugged at her hand, and as she walked past the mannequins, dressed in her students' designs, she remembered the reasons she'd agreed to this. She could wait a little longer before she said something. She just had to make sure she didn't fall into the trap of actually believing the lies. She walked with him into the frosty night, round to the car park under the department store, and climbed into a very sexy gunmetal gray car, relieved to see it didn't have anything remotely family about it. Just 2 seats. Leather. Expensive. She laughed. Might have known you'd have a convertible. It's also a hybrid, so I'm doing my bit for the environment. His chest puffed out with pride. He didn't have any airs or graces. This car was just as much a treat for him as anyone, despite the billions in the bank. I just need something small to buzz around the city for when the helicopter is in for servicing. She laughed, having never known anyone who took a helicopter as transport. Even Blake Hawkesbury, the richest man in Hawks Cove, just drove a car. This was a wealth she couldn't even imagine, and just the thought of it made her anxious. How would his parents react to her? Just a small-town girl from Devon? Would they take one look at her and be utterly disappointed? But Oliver laughed too, gunned the engine, and eased the car onto the dark Chelsea street. We have 2. She gaped at him. 2 helicopters? How eco-friendly are helicopters? We pay a lot of money in carbon offsets, trust me. It's just easier for my parents to get around, especially now Dad's sick. Having taken a few steps, she swallowed, pushing the picture from her brain and trying to focus on his words. Notting Hill is nice. Or Primrose Hill. Anywhere with a hill. Really. Or Highgate. That's where a lot of the celebs live. Victoria's heart thudded as panic threatened to take over. Oliver, this is all wrong. Her thoughts, her desires, these plans, their lies. All of it. Getting stage fright? They stopped at a traffic light, and he turned and snagged her gaze. He was enjoying this, but he covered her hand with his and squeezed. Hey. It's okay. It's for a good cause. She couldn't argue with that. Her girls and Oliver's dad.
Breathe. Okay.
We've got barely any answers sorted. I need to know about your world and we need to create ours. Where did we meet? Outside work. We literally bumped into each other, right? I think it helps to keep things as true to life as possible. That was easy then. How long have we been seeing each other? A couple of months. But we knew immediately. We did.
Sure.
His grin was now cheeky and mischievous. He certainly didn't have stage fright. Didn't I ask you to marry me that very first night? But it wasn't real. She bit back what she was going to actually say, which was a string of curse words, because driving over to meet his parents was feeling very real indeed. So, what's your favorite color? I don't have one. You must have. Everyone has a favorite color. He looked at her jumper, his eyes smoothing over her like a caress. Pink. Pink. She knew it wasn't, but she went along with him. Good. And white spots. There was a smile hovering on his lips. It hit his eyes and made them dance with fun. He was messing with her head. Now you're stressing me out, but making her laugh. Oh, and green. Green's good. Sometimes. If I'm in a green kind of
Arms.
big mistake. It would be a disaster to get involved with this man.
He was.
Too enigmatic, too much for her. She would come out broken at the end. And there definitely would be an end. She was so shaken with need, she could barely find her voice.
Good.
Acting, Ollie. Award-worthy. But the want in his gaze wasn't an act, and neither was the struggle she
Saw there too.
Despite the humor, their connection was intense and hot and confusing after the hands-off professionalism of the deal. They were so
Close to stepping over that line.
She closed her eyes and balled her hands into fists. This wasn't going well. This attraction was building and building, and she didn't know how to handle it. When she dared look again, he was staring out of the car window, concentrating on the driving, propelling them towards his family.
She focused on that. Right.
Quick fire round. Favorite toy growing up? He frowned and thought. Sega Mega Drive.
His voice was cracked.
With desire, he coughed, cleared his throat, sat up straighter. Not a favorite teddy bear? Didn't have one. You must have had one, Oliver. Really? His doting parents didn't buy him a bear? Everyone has a teddy bear. At home, yes, but not at boarding school. I would have been bullied. Relentlessly. Was it hard being away from your parents? At first. It was different, strange, and took a bit of getting used to.
But I
was an only child to older working parents. I was bored at home, to be honest, and besides, we were all in the same boat at school, so we formed tight friendships. Yes, I missed my parents at first, but things changed. The boys in those houses became family, and I preferred to spend time with them in the holidays rather than rattling round my house with no one to play with. And parents at meetings or dinners without me. It's probably selfish, but it began to feel as if me being home was a burden. I was in the way of their amazing life where they jet set all over the world. We became detached, I suppose. We lost touch as a family, really. And he'd said boarding school wasn't difficult. In reality, they'd edged each other out of their lives. I can't imagine being away for so long from my parents and my younger brother, even though he was very annoying. Growing up still is, in a brother kind of way. Oliver shrugged. I wouldn't know. I don't have a brother, just a cousin. But if that counts, then I totally get the annoying bit. Your life has been very different to mine. And now look at us. Who would have thought? Engaged to be married. He pulled into a parking space outside a small restaurant set back from the
road.
It had fairy lights around the door and the name Antoine's painted on the window. Oliver turned off the engine and smiled encouragingly. Right, time to go. Wow, the rents. Before she could say anything, he jumped out, ran around the front of the car, and opened her door. As she stepped out, he took her hand and gave her a soft kiss on her cheek. Just be yourself. They will love you. She couldn't work out if this was an act or not, so just nodded her words, lost in her throat. It will be fine. It will be fine. She'd been through worse and survived. He held her hand tightly as they walked up to the door. Maybe he thought she was going to make a run for it. This is my parents' favorite place. They used to come here when they first started dating. It's also where my dad
Proposed.
where I had my very first outing straight from the hospital after I was born. It's a family favorite. Special. Which made everything worse. Panic wove through her chest and she was tempted to turn and run, but she wasn't the kind of person to renege on a promise. I don't know enough about you, Ollie. The door flew open and a cuddly, balding man in chef's whites threw his arms up. He pinched Oliver's cheeks as if he were his own son. Oliver Russell. Long time no eat? And who this? This is Victoria. Victoria, this is Antoine, the best pasta chef in the world and a long-time family friend.
Bella, bella.
Pleased to meet you. The chef took Victoria's free hand and shook. Then, as he turned back to Oliver, his face fell. They are out the back. Oliver nodded, the desire in his eyes replaced with concern.
How is he?
Antoine shook his head. Not good, I'm sorry.
He needs to eat.
You all
Need to eat.
You all work too hard. But Victoria will be a good distraction. Yes. Her stomach clenched. For someone who hated being in the spotlight, she was going to be the main attraction. The chef walked them through the cozy restaurant, and she was surprised to see it wasn't as upmarket as she'd imagined. It was simple and homely, with framed photographs of the Amalfi Coast on walls that had been draped with red and green tinsel for Christmas. Classical festive hymns played in the background. The delicious aroma of garlic and rosemary infused the air, making her stomach rumble in anticipation. The last thing she'd eaten had been breakfast because somehow, thinking about spending the evening with Oliver had snatched her appetite clean away. But now she wasn't sure she'd be able to manage a mouthful in front of his parents either. Antoine's was obviously popular, as the restaurant was crammed with diners grouped at little wooden tables that filled the room. But everyone stopped and smiled at Antoine as he squeezed Victoria and Oliver across the floor. Then, before she could take another steadying breath, she was in a private room at the back, about the same size as her spare bedroom. It housed a large table and a mahogany sideboard stacked with plates and glassware. As Antoine led them in, all conversation stopped, and she inhaled sharply. 3 pairs of eyes peered up at her. 3 Russells. Some of the most influential people in the country, right here. Oh, God. Hello, family of mine. We made it. Oliver wrapped an arm around her shoulder, likely to show their togetherness, but she froze.
Completely.
Her body wouldn't soften, wouldn't move. They were looking at her, and she'd locked in self-preservation mode. What to do? Alarmed, she looked up at Oliver and tried to tell him telepathically that she couldn't do this, but he squeezed the back of her arm reassuringly and smiled down at her as if she was the best thing that had ever happened to him. Here she is, my Victoria. And still the eyes were on her. No one spoke. My Victoria. It had been so long since anyone had talked about her with such longing in their voice it took her a moment to remember it was just an
act. He was good at this.
His pupils flared, nudging her to respond.
Right.
Yes. Fiancé. She edged into his embrace, felt the strength in his hold, the warmth of his body. He smelled so good as she laid her head against his shoulder and dug deep for her best smile. Hi, everyone.
Victoria, darling.
A trim woman in her 70s dressed in a neat dove gray cashmere dress and pearls stood and came around the table, trembling as she took Victoria's hand in both of hers. I am so very pleased
to meet you.
My dear, you are such a salve to my heart. This is my mother, Stella. Oliver laughed as he tugged his arm away from Victoria's shoulder and air kissed his mother's powdered cheek.
Put
her down, Mum, or you'll scare her off. Oh, Oliver, don't underestimate her. If she's won you over, she must have more balls than Russell and Company's board of directors combined. You, notwithstanding. That right, Victoria? As the grip on her hands lessened, Victoria looked into the older lady's eyes and saw so much hope there it almost broke her heart. Despite her wealth and social standing, she was just a mother wanting the best for her boy. Oh, I don't know about that. Hello, Mrs. Russell. Call me Stella, please, everyone does. Do you prefer Vicky, Vic, Tori?
Victoria.
Most of my friends call me V. Work colleagues use Vicky, Mum, and Dad.
Call me Victoria.
Basically, I answer to anything. Victoria, it is then. Such a lovely name, and also the name of my favorite aunt, so that's a very good sign. I've never met any of Oliver's girlfriends
Before.
I just know you're special. Too bad she wasn't actually meeting Oliver's girlfriend then, just a
Stuntin.
lovely to meet you too, Stella. I've heard so much about you, most of which Victoria had found online. She tried to remember the details.
Stella Russell.
74. Daughter of an earl. Married at what?
Was it?
25? No children until she was 42. Then Oliver. Great support to her husband. This is my father, Eric. A steady hand on her shoulder as Oliver edged her away from Stella and towards a frail man in a wheelchair.
Victoria.
Disguised her momentary inhale as a cough. He was barely recognizable from the hearty and robust man she'd seen so many times on the television. He pushed down on the wheelchair arms to stand up but didn't look strong enough, so she went over and bent to shake his hand. Mr. Russell, I am so happy to meet you. Not as much as I am to meet you. Thank God someone's brave enough to take him off my hands. Despite his frailty, his grip was still solid and strong, and she just knew from the determination in Eric's eyes that he was going to fight this illness, which made her feel as if she wanted to fight along with him. But on the flip side, also a little afraid at the lies she was telling right now to his face. What would he do if he ever found out this wasn't exactly the blissed-up romance they were portraying? And this is Andrew, my cousin. Oliver nodded towards a tall, dark-haired man with eyes that were too small and too close together, sitting at the table, even though they bore a definite Russell resemblance, with the same proud jawline and dark messy hair. The looks they gave each other were mistrusting and lacked any familial warmth. Oliver's voice flattened. I wasn't expecting you to be here. Your mother thought it would be nice for your girlfriend to meet us all at once. Andrew nodded towards Victoria, those small eyes cold and searching. The way he put emphasis on girlfriend was suspicious and sullen. And he clearly didn't think any of this was nice at all. He's kept you a tight secret, Victoria. I see him every day, and he's never even mentioned you. Not once. I don't know how to answer that. Her heart thumping hard against her ribcage, Victoria went for a shrug and clasped her hands together before she started her nervous gesticulating and anxiety-driven verbal diarrhea or blurting out the truth. Ahem. Talking of secrets, Stella interjected with a steely tone, clearly used to intervening between the cousins. She looked from Oliver to Andrew, and back again with ill-concealed concern, then patted the empty seat next to her for Victoria to sit down. Oliver took a seat on Victoria's right side, next to his father.
Victoria.
Grabbed his hand under the table for strength and support, and not because she liked holding it.
Even though she did.
He pressed a gentle kiss to her cheek and squeezed her hand. Her heart sped up a little.
Stella smiled.
Oliver let slip that your engagement was being kept hush. Hush until the opening. I'm so glad you agreed to let us in on it before. Then, Victoria dredged what she hoped was a delighted, excited expression. Not a problem. You all know before, everyone. Anyone. Oh, that is so lovely. Stella pressed her hand to her heart and blinked back a sheen of tears. This calls for champagne.
Antoine.
Bring a bottle of your best bubbles, please. I was beginning to think this day would never
Happen.
It makes me so happy. With shining eyes, Stella glanced at Victoria's left hand, her mouth forming an O. He proposed without a ring? Victoria clenched her left hand.
Shoot.
They hadn't got around to talking
About that.
Yes. No, Oliver said at the same time.
Hot damn.
This was something they should have discussed. Stella's gaze moved slowly from Victoria to Oliver, her smile wavering. As her voice cooled. Yes or no? Oliver coughed. It was a spur-of-the-moment proposal. I just couldn't wait to ask her. She drives me crazy. What can I do? He raised one shoulder nonchalantly, as if it was all completely out of his control, and he just couldn't understand it. We haven't got around to choosing one yet. Victoria nodded, taking his
lead.
Oliver's so busy, with the store. I said we could wait. Then she cringed as, from across the table, Andrew's stare bore into her. He knew this was all a lie. He knew, and he would wait until she chanced a sip of champagne and let it soothe her throat and her
nerves.
Maybe she needed to loosen up a bit. She took another sip.
And
another, and felt the tension ease away. Antoine cleared away the plates, and she fiddled with the stem of her glass, not sure what to say next, but Oliver gently pressed her thigh with his palm and offered his hand for her to grip again. She took it gratefully. As she breathed out, his thumb stroked across the base of hers, then over her palm, sending shivers across her skin. His touch was like a switch, turning on in the depths of her body. Heat rose inside her, and she couldn't help but stroke his hand too. Stupid idea. Her nerves were a mess. They'd already embarked on this ridiculous journey together, and now she was stoking the connection between them on a sensual level too. Worse, she felt herself instinctively leaning closer to him. It was crazy. Madness that he had this kind of effect on her, but she just couldn't seem
to stop her body from reacting.
Even here with his family, she was like a silly teenager with a crush. Realizing she was still looking at him and probably drooling, she drew her gaze away, cheeks burning, but Stella clearly thought it was adorable. She clapped her hands. Oh, look at you.
Do you two lovebirds want a
moment alone? He can't keep his eyes off you.
No.
I'm just fine, thank you. Victoria took a sip of water. Thankfully, Eric touched his son's hand and all eyes turned to him. Will me through to the bathroom, Ollie lad. Right you are, Dad. Oliver stood and tugged the wheelchair back, but it came to a shuddering halt.
Damn.
Bloody thing's caught. It's stuck on the carpet.
Wait.
I know a trick. Glad to be able to use some of the excess tension that made her want to move her restless hands. Victoria jumped up and pushed her weight down on the handle, which had the simultaneous effect of levering the front wheel up a little. Then she maneuvered the chair backwards and out onto the wooden floor by the service counter. You have to get the balance of your weight right so you can tilt it back and then push it forward. Eric clapped. Thank you, my dear. We're just getting used to it. Oliver caught her up and took control of steering the wheelchair as they walked towards the bathroom together. Have you got an advanced driver's license or something? She sighed her relief at being away from the table, just for a minute. I've had a lot of practice with these pesky things. One of my best friends is in a wheelchair, and we've got stuck plenty of times. Best friend. He frowned. Not one of the girls in the photo?
The car. Accident?
Hell, Victoria. Don't. Please, she whispered, shaking her head as her chest tightened. At the memory. Not here.
Not now.
Hot damn. Bad enough he'd caught her off guard earlier and she'd told him about the accident. The last thing she needed was to rake all of that up here in front of his family. The accident was always off limits as far as she was concerned, and the only people who truly understood were Zoe, Malie, and Lily. They'd been through it with her. They'd lived the pain and fear. They'd all fought to survive and heal. Victoria's injuries had been bad enough, and she'd had to realign her hopes and dreams. But Zoe's spinal injury had been the worst thing out of it, and Victoria would never, ever forgive herself for that. Shaking off the memories, she smiled over to Eric. It's a bit of a learning curve, but usually the problem's caused by the wheels wanting to do their own thing. A bit like shopping trolleys, you know? They all want to go in different directions.
I'm sorry.
Oliver ran his palm down her shoulder, oblivious to the fact that his dad was probably listening and watching. Oblivious or not caring. What for? He leaned to her ear. The pain you carry around with you. I wish I could help. His smile was kind. It seemed to say, I understand. You've got this.
And
it tugged at her heart. He'd been so gentle when they'd talked about that night, encouraging her to talk when she wanted or needed, like a friend
would.
He'd be a good friend to have, she thought. Straight up and loyal. And a dangerous adversary to have, too. The Russells had power and money. And new people.
I've fine.
But thank you. She gave him what felt like a wavering smile. In return, then he disappeared into the bathroom with his dad, and she turned, taking a big, deep breath in readiness for returning to her audience. But Oliver was back in seconds. Victoria, he whispered. Stop.
Dad
said I have to wait for him here. He took her hand and drew her closer out of earshot of the table. Just checking you're okay? You know about all this. We're doing fine, do you think? Brilliantly. They'd never guess we weren't a couple. They're lovely. So lovely. She looked over to the table and saw Andrew swiping on his phone while Stella sat upright staring straight ahead, worrying a napkin in her hand. What was she thinking?
Did she
believe them? Was she anxious about her husband? Her son? Oliver followed Victoria's line of sight and smiled. She tends to get a bit
overexcited. I'm sorry.
But she likes you. Andrew doesn't. Oliver's expression hardened. I'm sorry about him too, and I honestly didn't know he was going to be here, otherwise I would have prepared you. But they're right, you might as well meet them all at once and get it over
with.
Victoria couldn't help laughing. You make it sound like taking bad medicine. Believe me, dealing with Andrew is worse than a bout of stomach flu. He feels threatened. You're taking his job, and now they're talking about me being involved too. He's being edged out, and he doesn't like it. He's going to have to live with it. Unfortunately, my cousin's career is about to take a swerve. Oliver let out a deep breath. Right, I'll go get Dad. And see you back at the table. Not long to go, and we'll be finished. As he turned away, her heart stung a little at his words. Sure, she wanted it to be over. But she didn't want it to end just yet. Not with him anyway. In fact, despite everything, she wanted him to caress her hand again. She wanted to lean into him, to feel his gaze on her, to see the warmth in his face when he looked at her. Yes, she knew now without a shadow of a doubt. She wanted this thing between them to be real. She wanted him to fall for her. As if anyone would do that. Foolish, stupid woman. She knew better than to let herself believe in fairy tales. She needed to get the hell out and put an end to all this as soon as they were alone. But for now she was going to act out of her skin and make sure she delivered her side of the deal. Unscathed. Pressing her lips together, she made her way back to the table. Despite her ever-present anxiety, the evening flew by, and the conversation steered away from the engagement and focused much more on business talk. Stella was impressed with Victoria's teaching and keen to hear about the pop-up stalls. Eric was a funny conversationalist and listened enthusiastically to Victoria wax lyrically about her dress designs. Antoine's lobster ravioli was divine, the champagne delicious. Other than Andrew's dark, skeptical stares and the lack of truth in any of it, it would have been the perfect evening to meet a fiancé's family. Finally, after the best tiramisu Victoria had ever eaten, Stella leaned over. Oh, I must ask, have you set the date? Her appetite had returned just at the end of the meal, probably because it signaled the coming end of the interrogation. Licking her spoon, Victoria turned to Stella. For? Stella blinked, clearly confused. The wedding, of course. Of course. The damned wine had gone to her head and made her forgetful and careless. She tried to cover.
Oh, no.
We haven't decided yet. Stella clearly had. August. An August wedding will be perfect. I'll call Barbara and make sure she keeps August free. The whole of August? What were they planning? A wedding festival? Did Victoria have a say in this? Barbara. Had she somehow missed mention of someone important? Stella gave a sharp nod of her head. The dog sitter.
If she's not free, then
we'll have to do it another time. I can't have anyone but Barbara looking after my girls, Sucky and Solly. Mum's dogs, Oliver clarified. Cavaliers. Stella frowned as if the use of the word dogs wasn't good enough for her. Girls. Pedigree. Sucky won best in breed at Crufts 2 years in a row. Lovely. Their wedding was going to be arranged around the availability of her fake fiancé's mother's dog sitter? Excellent. It's settled then. An August wedding. Stella pulled out her phone and started to tap on it. There's a lovely little chapel in our village.
I
can have a word with the vicar on Sunday if you like. This was getting just a little too much. Victoria pigged her eyes at Oliver. Do something. He grimaced. Mother, I think you need to back off a little. We have a lot to work out. Oliver glanced over to his father. And Dad's looking a bit
peaky.
It's getting late, and he has treatment tomorrow. He needs his rest. An August wedding. Would Eric be well enough to attend it? Had anyone thought about that? Would he even be here? Victoria's heart lurched.
She
liked this old man. She really hoped she'd see him again. Stella fixed a smile. Yes, of course. I'm sorry it's your wedding. I was just trying to be helpful, but I get carried away. Eric's always telling me off about it, Oliver too. Can't help it. It's fine. Honestly. It clearly was the most hopeful thing Stella had in her life right now, and Victoria didn't want to take it away from her just yet. We should go. It was delightful to meet you, Victoria.
With a warm
smile, Oliver's mother dropped her phone into a large Louis Vuitton handbag, stood and signaled for Antoine before kissing her son on his
cheek.
Let me know the date soon, though, darling. We need to get it into the diary. You know how busy we get in the summer. An August wedding in a village chapel.
Right.
Only if Barbara was free. Stella was delightful but formidable. Victoria summoned a smile and silently wished the best of luck to Oliver's future wife. She'd need the diplomacy of a hostage negotiator to wrangle a wedding she actually wanted. But dogs and chapels on a warm summer's day did sound lovely. This was all a huge mistake. With shaking limbs, she stepped away, putting distance between them, to stop herself from going straight back into his arms for a rerun. Oliver.
I have to go.
Early, you know. I mean, it's late. I need to get up early. Hey, what's wrong? Oliver held his hand out to her, his dark expression heated with lust, stealing the breath from her throat.
Ollie.
I have to go. With every ounce of effort she could muster, she waved her trembling hand towards another approaching black cab. She needed to get away from him before she got even more carried away. Before she started to believe in this romance as much as Oliver's parents
did.